Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert Camo, the Fantasy Football Counselor. We are talking about daily fantasy football week 4. Yes, DraftKings lineups, whatever you play, guys, this is going to help you guys. Going to go over all the optimal players at each position to help you guys set the lineup, give you guys some value plays as well. Not only that, this is going to help you guys with your starts and sits because I'm going to be going over all of the guys that you should be starting theoretically, right? If I want you to start them in DFS, means they got a good matchup, means you probably want to consider starting them in your starts and sits for year long. And so many people are torn between like, do I start this guy or that guy? This episode's going to help you. I also do a starts and sits on Friday, a full show to help you with year long, but this is mainly focused on DFS and daily fantasy, okay? Before we get into this, guys, make sure you go download the app, get your phone, download the DraftKings app right now, use promo code FFLINE. You got a shot at millions of dollars worth of prizes with that code, guys. They are the official daily fantasy sports partner of the NFL. I play DFS every single week. I love it. It enhances that game watching experience, and it's so cool because you got that flexibility. You don't got to worry about injuries, and I know CMC owners are crying right now because CMC is hurt. In DFS, you just draft somebody else. You have no ties, no ownership for the entire year on one player. You play, you draft, you have fun. You know, you pick your team under the salary cap, see how it stacks up against the competition, away you go. So download the DraftKings app right now, guys. Use promo code FFLION. A minimum $5 deposit is required. There is some eligibility restrictions. They do apply. See DraftKings.com for details right now. Go download the app, FFLION. Also, guys, Manscape.com. Use promo code SHOWERLION. I've got the amazing Lawnmower 4.0 behind me. This is the newer version. You guys got to consider grabbing this. Amazing fit and finish. You guys will be very, very happy with this. Keeps my balls groomed and happy. And again, I wear their underwear every single day. Great products. That's manscape.com. Use promo code SHOWERLION. Save 20%. All right, let's dive into this, guys. Optimal players at each position. If you're new to the channel, make sure you guys click subscribe, leave a thumbs up as well, and really helps the channel. All right, let's dive in. Let's start off with quarterbacks here. I'm going to save defenses for the end here. This helps with defenses even in year long. If you're thinking of streaming a defense, I'm going to give you guys the optimal defenses for this week as well. Starting off with the quarterback, we are talking DraftKings right now. Pat Mahomes, if you guys want to start him, he does have a tougher matchup against Philly. 9th hardest versus position, and he's super expensive. He's the most expensive quarterback going into this week. Pat Mahomes, again, tougher matchup, okay? Josh Allen, easy matchup. 12th easiest versus position against Houston. It's not the easiest, but an easier matchup, and again, he's expensive. So I'm going over the expensive guys and telling you their matchup. Kyler Murray, right in the middle, mid-range matchup versus the Rams. It's not going to be an easy walk in the park for Kyler Murray, who's been on fire. He is $7,800, still very expensive, and he doesn't have the easiest match. Lamar Jackson, hardest matchup versus position against Denver. He's still $7,500. And Tom Brady, also sixth hardest matchup versus position. And he is playing his old team. He's playing New England. It's going to be an interesting one. He's still $7,200. But again, not the easiest matchup versus position. If you want an ultra elite quarterback who's got an easy matchup, 5th easiest versus position, go with Russell Wilson. A very easy matchup this week against San Fran secondary. So he is the guy to get if you want to get that elite guy, okay? I'll give you a couple of value plays here. You definitely want to consider that they've got easy matchups, and they're really cheap on DraftKings at the quarterback position. Matt Ryan, very cheap, $5,400. Got the easiest matchup versus position against Washington secondary. Jalen Hurts versus KC, $6,900. You're paying a little bit more, and he's got a chip on his shoulder. He did well last week considering it was a bad week against the Cowboys this past week. And, you know, he's playing KC this week. Easy matchup, and understand he is ready. Like, I think he's really talented. It's just he had a bad game, and it happens. I think this is the week Jalen Hurts does well because I got his rookie cards, and I've invested a lot. I hope he has a good week this week. Good matchup. Taylor Heineke, good matchup, value, $5,900. Mac Jones, I don't know if I trust him, but he is value and a good matchup. Ben Roethlisberger coming off mediocre weeks against Green Bay. Easy matchup, value play, $5,500. Okay, another value play, Baker Mayfield, who's been just slightly above par this year, $6,200. Okay, those are a couple value plays. All right, let's move on to running back. We'll go wide receiver, tight end, and we'll go to the defenses at the end. All right, so we're talking about the most expensive guys. Derrick Henry, expensive, $8,800, but great matchup. Alvin Kamara, great matchup against the Giants this week, okay? Eckler, kind of a mid-range matchup, $7,600. He's expensive. Here's the interesting thing. Nick Chubb is $7,000. Coming off a terrible week where he was completely outscored, like almost 4 times outscored, 27 and change points versus the 8 points that he got, compared to Kareem Hunt. And Nick Chubb is expensive, $7,000, okay, on DraftKings, virtual money. Okay, Najee Harris, mid-range matchup. I love him. He's cheaper than Nick Chubb, $6,800. He is a PPR monster, and I think that's going to continue. Miles Sanders, easy matchup versus KC, $6,400, okay? Jonathan Taylor, $6,300. He's been mediocre at best. Naheem Hines has been a thorn in his side. Now to compare, Kareem Hunt, $6,000. Mid-range matchup, Nick Chubb, right? Nick Chubb, $1,000 more. Just something to be aware of, okay? Guys that have it in tough, Zeke Elliott, okay? You might want to be careful. Aaron Jones. And again, I'm going to go over this with you guys in the Starts and Sit episode. But again, I'm going to give you guys some value plays right now. Elijah Mitchell, Trey Sermon, right? Either one of those guys, pretty good matchup. Just watch the injuries there with Elijah Mitchell, okay? Might be limited. Just be careful. Another value play, David Montgomery had a mediocre week last week, $5,800 this week. And I'll give you one more. Melvin Gordon versus Baltimore, another value play, all right? Even Javonte Williams, either one of those, Javonte is due to have a big breakout game. We don't know when it's going to happen. Those are some value plays at running back. Moving on to wide receiver. And when you're playing DraftKings or DFS, this is where I take my risk. This is where I go on upside. This is where I go on guys that, I want to take a risk on. So let me give you guys some value plays that could boom. Jacoby Myers, okay, versus Tampa. Easy matchup, okay? $5,200. Good value. Corey Davis, who's been really quiet. He's due for a big game. He's got an easy matchup versus Tennessee. Be aware of that. Odell Beckham Jr., with Landry being sidelined. 14 points last week, does have a favorable matchup. Second easiest matchup versus position. Be aware of that. Calvin Ridley versus Washington secondary. Due for a breakout game. 14 points last week. Look for him to step it up this week. He's not necessarily a value, but it's a really good matchup. He's $7,000, okay? Let me just filter here by some of these other guys. Devontae Adams, expensive, good matchup. Cooper Kupp, who's been red hot on fire, has got a favorable matchup versus Arizona, but you're going to pay. You're going to pay $7,800, okay? Again, that's where I said Calvin Ridley, a little bit more of a value than Cooper Kupp, and good matchup. Terry McLaurin, good matchup, $6,900, not bad. DJ Moore, who proved he's the number one target. I was wrong on that part. I can't be right about everything. Right about a lot of stuff. Can't be right about everything. Unless Robbie Anderson steps it up. DJ Moore was the primary target getter. Good matchup. Decent value at $6,600, okay? Other value plays, like I said, Odell. Devontae Smith, I think he's going to have a big week this week against KC. Had 2 mediocre weeks, but Hurts is going to him. He's throwing the deep ball to Devontae Smith. I've been watching the games. I'm heavily invested in the sports cards, like I said. So Devontae Smith could have a big week, $5,700. That's pretty good value to me. Robert Woods, good value, $5,300. Maybe he gets a breakout week. Could be a good wild card for DFS. Jalen Waddle, good matchup. 4th easiest versus position against Indy secondary, only $4,900. Jalen Reagor, again, we talked about Smith being good. Reagor also $4,700, good value play. I'll give you one more value play here. And again, it's up to you guys to do what you want with it. Kendrick Bourne, who had a big game, okay? New England versus Tampa Bay. It's a good matchup. Playing Tampa secondary, good matchup. Kendrick Bourne, $4,000 on DraftKings. Could be a great guy. Again, but sometimes you got to watch for the 1 week wonders. They have a big week, they decline. That guy could be declining. But again, good value if you want to take a risk there in your salary. All right, let's talk about tight ends. With tight ends, I try to get a secure guy, but you're paying for Kelsey, $8,100 for Travis Kelsey on DraftKings. He's got an easy matchup. Darren Waller, a little cheaper, $1,000 cheaper if you need to fit him in that budget. Darren Waller coming off a 10-point week last week. He's been pretty consistent, though. The weeks prior, safe and solid, $7,100. Pretty decent matchup. George Kittle, mid-range matchup. He's a lot cheaper at $5,900. Kyle Pitts due for a breakout game and a mid-range matchup versus tight end, because Washington plays tight ends pretty hard, not as soft as they do wide receivers. So Pitts has a mid-range matchup due for a breakout game, only $5,000, okay? Other guys you may want to consider at value, Noah Fant with a good matchup, Hunter Henry, Dawson Knox coming off a safe 15-point week. Easy matchup, guys, versus Houston. And Pat Freiermuth, right? The rookie tight end for Pittsburgh, playing Green Bay. They're like Swiss cheese out there. I keep comparing them to that. Only $3,100 if you need that value tight end. Now you're asking, what about Gronkowski? He's been red hot. Listen, he was banged up a little bit. If he does play, which I think he should, he does have a tough matchup. Be aware of that. And you're paying $5,700. And TJ Hawkinson, 10th hardest matchup versus position against Chicago. Tough matchup coming off a weak 3-point week last week. Again, a guy that's supposed to get the targets. Goff's primary target has it in tough this week, just so you know. Now, again, I'm going to be going over this in the starts and sits in a lot more detail on Friday. All right, let's talk about some defense here. The defense to start, and my favorite for DFS this week. That's what I'm gonna break it down, kind of my favorite and the one that I really like. And the one that I really like is Tennessee. They are playing the Jets, and they've been absolutely horrible. Mind you, the Tennessee defensive numbers over the first 3 weeks are not great, but the matchup is favorable. So Tennessee is probably the defense to pick up if you're streaming or in DFS, but you're paying the most. You're paying $3,900. Another one you may want to consider is the Colts, and they are playing Miami, $2,700, but it is a favorable matchup for the Colts. Maybe even the Lions versus Chicago, simply because there's a lot of uncertainty there with the coaching, with the quarterbacks, and everything getting in sync with that Chicago offense, and we don't know who's up to start that game, right? We don't know. Nagy said could be any three of his quarterbacks, right? So I don't know, man. I just think it's a good matchup with the Lions, but because of the uncertainty of the Bears looking really rough. And if you want another one, you want to, doubt the rookie, you could go Tampa Bay's defense versus the rookie quarterback of New England. And that's it, guys. Those are your optimal plays, value plays. Go set up your roster. Remember, go download the DraftKings app. Use promo code FFLine. Dive into some games, guys. Experience it. Feel it. Have some fun drafting every single week. It is an absolute blast. All right, guys? Hopefully this helps you. I know it does. Trying to get you that as much information in a short amount of time as I can. Pack your head with that information so you know what to do. Go back and listen again if you have to. Go crush those DFS DraftKings lineups. I'm out.